telling me about her little business, which is a consulting service for small businesses. I was hoping a few more people would show up, so I've really quickly got a few ideas I'm going to present to Karen, who's my captive audience here, about what I'm thinking. And then we can just talk. And Karen, by all means, jump in. I mean, this does not have to be formal. I just wanted to get this stuff out there. I did a slide. I hope I can do this. I'm going to do a screen presentation. There's actually not very much to it. But I just want to crank out a few ideas really fast. And we can all sort of join this maybe? And if you have to go get your kid, don't worry about it. You know, if you have to jump out,
okay.
And if you have to jump out, don't worry about it. It's no big deal at all.
Okay.
But I want to show something here. I was actually, nope, I just created an infinite loop. That's not what I wanted to do. It's not shown here. What I want to talk about, I don't even know if this is a screen share. Where is it? This is why, I took the Stanford course and I was so disorganized. Here's what I want to talk about. This will be really quick. That's just not where I just share. See, this is why you practice before you do something.
Oh yes.
Okay, I gotta go to the beginning of this. Oh my, the presentation I did for Stanford, I did like about 100 takes. Okay, what I've been realizing is that we've got some really cool tools here for online collaboration with startups and micro-enterprises using Google+. And I just want to go over, and some of these are a little bit wild ideas, but I think we can give ourselves a little bit of leverage here that bigger companies don't necessarily have, or that we can give ourselves the same leverage that bigger companies have. So the first one is just obvious, networking and community. This is the first time I've met you, Karen, and obviously we want to get to know each other, and network as best we can. And what people are sort of missing from the entrepreneurs community is, so many people think they're just trying to sell to us, and that's just not going to work. But we might have people. You might meet people there who know people you can sell to, and that will work. So that's just an obvious one, and I want to start doing this more and getting to know each other better. And I realize, Karen, I'm kind of victimizing you here with my audience, but this will be quick. I just want to crank out a few points, because the next one, the other one now, I did this when I was doing my Stanford one too. It will go to the will just run by itself. This one, there's a lot of talk in Silicon Valley that you must have co-founders. They just make it mandatory. It's just like, it's to them, it's just beyond debate. Well, it's not quite so easy as that. First of all, there's a lot of companies that have been really successful without co-founders. But it is a good idea. But here's the problem. You have to have, they're just very, very hard to find. You have to have somebody in the exact same, I'm going to turn off screen share. All I'm doing is look at one screen instead of you. In fact, I'm not going to use that slide at all. It's just too silly. Let me turn that off. Because there's just a number of points I have to make. So you and I can just talk. You have just to find somebody, a partner to work with, or a co-founder. And I don't know if you've tried this. The people have to have your same interests. They have to believe in what you're doing, common objective. They have to be in the same phase of life you're in. And it's just really, really hard. And they have to have the time. And that's just hard to find. We can use Google Plus to find, and especially Hangouts, to find those people non-locally. I've started to work with a young woman in Salt Lake City. I never would have, and we're working together on a project. It's not a big one, but we are actually co-founders on a project. So that's something I'm doing. Did you have any questions about that, or am I just kind of talking at you too much? Did you?
No, that's one of the things that I've been interested in, simply because in my area there just isn't anyone else doing what I'm doing. I mean, like I said, I've posted on the list before that I'm the only one within 40 miles.
Oh, that's great. That's great. In Silicon Valley, they disparage people that are, they call them lone wolves that are, doing things themselves, but sometimes it's perfectly appropriate. It's one of those things that there's no right answer. But I did read this book. It was called Making Ideas Happen, and it was for creative people who tend to leave a lot of unfinished projects. And he talked about a really wealthy guy. He was a filmmaker. And this guy absolutely refused to start any project unless he had a co-founder, even though he could afford to hire anyone he wanted. So that kind of changed my perspective on it a little bit. And what I'm saying here is that using Google Hangouts will greatly increase our range in possibilities here. And I've got another, well, Jody. Hi, Jody.
How are you?
I'm good. you're a little bit of an angle there, Jody. Jody, we're talking about some small business issues, and I'm kind of ranting a little bit. Well, you look great, Jody.
Thank you.
You and I got to meet in real life one of these days. We were supposed to do a hike, remember?
Yeah.
Did you get the document stuff I sent you? Or?
No, I didn't even have a chance to look at it. I was off for a couple hours, and then I just popped back in. The truth is, I can look at it right now.
Oh, no, take your time. There's some good stuff in there, though. But I'm doing a little bit of I don't want to call it a presentation. I'm just trying to lay some ideas on the table. So if it's not too offensive to you, Jody, I'm going to talk kind of things that may not necessarily interest you. But you know, by all means, jump in. Is that okay? Or?
Yeah, I'm just here to listen.
Okay. We were just talking about co-founders and how to find them in using Google+. And I was talking a little bit about how hard it is to find co-founders. And then the other thing, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, Karen, this is Jody. I've known Jody online for a number of years now, and he lives right here in San Diego, but we've never connected locally. And Jody, this is Karen. Karen, what city are you in?
I'm actually in Ogden, just north of Salt Lake in Utah.
Oh, okay. And she's a consultant for young mothers, a business consultant for young mothers, which is kind of cool. Okay, I'm going to crank up these points here because I kind of feel like I'm being unfriendly here. Maybe I should have done this presentation by myself. But also finding business advisors, that's very, very tough to do if you're just looking locally. The Startup America program, who I've got some disagreements with, they announced that they were going to have this program to find 10,000 business advisors for small businesses. It totally flopped. I've heard a number of people having difficulty doing it. Anyway, I think that's something we can do here on Google+. And of course, there's no reason they have to be in the same city. You could have a business advisor that's in, Botswana, not Botswana maybe, but in New York or whatever, in a different city than you're in. So I'm just going to crank out these points really quick. You can also something I've been interested in. So you could also establish a virtual board of advisors, and we could be on each other's board. So Karen, I could be on your, and your company might be a good match for me. But somebody we know could be on your board of advisors to help you how to grow your business and your profitability, and then you could split. And you could be on ours. So that's something I want to explore on the Entrepreneurs Group as well. So you could have a virtual board of advisors. I'm just throwing these ideas on the table. Something I've talked about a few times is work exchange agreements, where it's something of the nature of I'll work 2 hours for you if you work 2 hours for me. Now, a real quick point: people might have different values of their work. So Jody, for example, is an electrician, and maybe I would say, Jody, I'll help you with some of your web work or something if you'll do some of this electrician work for me. But I might decide that his work is more valuable than mine. I might decide, well, your work is worth twice as much as mine, so I'll do 2 hours of work for you if you do 1 hour work for me. I'm just throwing that out. Something like that, we could do. Work exchange agreement, something I'm very interested in. Again, I'm just broaching the topic here. And then beyond that, there's a virtual team. What if we got, a whole group of people working together? Karen, you could have a whole group of people that's on your team working with you. And then, of course, reciprocally, you'd have to work on their team also. That is similar to an idea Jody might be familiar with, maybe people listening to this video, called the Virtual Brain Trust Cooperative, something I tried to do way back on Google Buzz, where people form teams for each other. Some of it happened, some of it worked okay, some of it didn't. And I've learned a little bit from that. Now I'm just looking at it from more of a business perspective. Before we were thinking, you could have a team even if you're looking for a job or something like that, I still wouldn't mind exploring that. But right now I'm focusing on virtual teams for just business. Beyond that, there's no reason you can't have an international team. Am I talking too much, guys? Hello, did I lose my audience? Oh, somebody else joined us. I'm sorry. I was reading my presentation. Gary, hi.
No,
hi, Gary.
I'm still there, aren't I?
Jody, you're there. Karen is there. Yeah.
Okay.
Gary is in Houston. He's a great guy. We've been working together a little bit. Gary, can you hear us? Is he in his chair? I can't even see. Well, I'm going to keep talking because I'm almost done. So anyway, you could have an international team. When I took that Stanford entrepreneurial technology course, one of these days I've got to learn how to pronounce the word entrepreneurial once I have that group. But I was originally doing a project called American Startups, which was a community platform I built that was both inspired by and then became a reaction to the Obama administration's Startup America program, which I think has some problems. Well, anyway, what happened is that a bunch of international, I was leading a team, and a bunch of international people joined it. We were meeting by Google+. It worked really, really well. What would happen, and I mean, I had people all over. We had a guy in Finland, a guy in Poland, a guy in England, even a guy in Pakistan, a culture very different from my own. He was awesome. Everybody was helpful. And the guys in different time zones would listen to this video when I was around if they couldn't make it, or if they couldn't make the team meeting. And so I managed an international team using this technology. So why not for small businesses and microenterprise? People that are working alone now, establish a team. Not only does it not have to be in your same city, it doesn't have to be in the same country. We got something good now, and I don't know if people are seeing it. So I just want to throw that on the table. One more thing, and here I'm getting a little bit out there, a virtual co-working space. I don't know if people know what co-working spaces are, but it's a new concept where small businesses will go to, it's like a shared office space, and you pay for it almost like a health club. So you'll pay $50 or $100 a month. I'm not even sure what the prices are. And then you'll get a desk that you can go to, 4 hours a week or whatever. They're a really, really good idea. I have a blog post where I said I think libraries should be converted to virtual workspaces. And I actually have a picture of my library. I live in San Diego, in the Pacific Beach neighborhood of San Diego. And everybody, it's a picture with, dead tree books. And then people all working on their computers and using the shared computers and coming for the Wi-Fi. Nobody's going there for the books anymore. They're going there for the co-working spaces. And I go, why don't we as a society just admit it? Anyway, that's a little bit of a diversion. My point is, we could almost have a co-working space just virtually, just where you come and somebody's online every day. We can do that on the Entrepreneurs Group. I want to mention one more thing. I know Jody's a writer. And I wasn't that familiar with this, but they had National Writers Month or something recently, Jody.
I'm sorry. I had my I can hear you, but I had my microphone turned off.
No worries. They had National Writers Month, something like that.
Yeah, there is, but I really hadn't. I hadn't paid a whole. I couldn't tell you very much about it.
Okay. Well, one thing they were doing, and this was, I think we did it wrong, but people were writing on camera, and I didn't know that much about it. And then Lori Frederich, I think I'm pronouncing her name wrong. Sorry, Lori. I murder people's names. She contacted me for a writing session where she was just writing on camera, and the mics were all muted. And I don't think we did it exactly right. I think you're supposed to talk a little bit, but maybe I came in late or something. So she was just on writing. I could see her on camera, and I was supposed to mute my microphone. So I did, and I'll be damned if I didn't just start writing. There's nothing else to do. I might as well write. So we just sat there, and there's something, about just having someone else around that kind of forces you to do it. So anyway, I'm just broaching the idea of a virtual co-working space. Sometimes there's no reason why these cameras can't be on all the time. We don't have to be on all the time. but they can. There could be some place we could go. So I'm just throwing, those are the ideas I wanted to throw out there on the table. I'm going to go over them one more time, and then I'm just going to be more friendly because I used you guys as victims for my presentation here. Networking community, it's obvious for small businesses just to meet each other, not to try to sell to each other, but try to help each other and maybe know approaches they can take to sell. Finding co-founders, a bigger problem than I think most people think. I think we can use Google Plus technology, specifically Hangouts, to help with that. Oh, by the way, one more point on that. There's a lot of sites for helping you find co-founders, but it's just like one of these things where you throw up a profile and then you're supposed to start talking. I think it's harder than that. I think you have to really know people better than that, and Hangouts will help us do that. Finding business advisors is also really tough. I think we can do that, and again, non-geographically, they can be in different cities. Building a virtual board of advisors, kind of an expansion, and the point I made is these don't necessarily have to be hot shots. They can just be us being advisors for each other. Work exchange agreements, it's trade work. Sometimes it's called skills trading. You know, let's start working for each other, but still each other's advantage. And I made the point that we don't necessarily have to establish the same value for each other's work. I could value, if I need a PHP programmer right now, I'm good at writing, I might say, well, your work's worth twice as much as mine, or vice versa, whatever. Building an international team, there's no reason we can't do that. I mentioned my experience with Stanford project, where I used Google Hangout technology to manage an international team, and it went very well. Specifically, the Hangouts on Air, where you could people could watch them later. And then I threw out the idea of a virtual co-working space where we just come and the camera's on all the time, and you know, we just can come and work together and occasionally interrupt each other and get stuff done. That's my whole presentation, guys, and that's what I wanted to record on this YouTube video. So now feel free to say anything you want. Either say, oh, that's really stupid, Rob, or, you know, okay, we're done, let's talk about football or whatever. So what's in your minds? I've done my piece, and I appreciate you guys being my audience. Karen, why don't you start? Or Jody, go ahead. Either one, I'm sorry.
I think those are some great ideas, and I've been saying for a couple of years that really that there's some really gifted and really talented people on Google Plus, and you know, if you could manage to consistently bring it together, great things can be achieved. But well, it sure is hard to do. And I've made a couple, probably 2 or 3 different attempts, and somehow the motivation just falls out of it, the interest falls out of it, and it's as much my fault as anyone else's.
Well, not necessarily. Sometimes you just got to keep trying things, and I think you've done some cool things. I love the collaborative book you had, and a lot of other people did. I thought that was so much fun. You remember that?
Yeah.
He had a collaborative detective novel. It was so funny.
It's just that I think, I mean, we like to all imagine, and I'm mostly just speaking for myself, but we like to all imagine that we can just get things done on our own. But I really need a schedule. I really need a taskmaster. I really need to be required to be somewhere, whether it's a virtual somewhere or a real somewhere, at a certain time, certain days of the week.
I've heard, that's why I brought up the co-working space idea, because I know that people that, you kind of go crazy working out of your house too much. I mean, and I know people that say if they have someplace to go just a couple days a week, that it helps a lot.
But, but I'm not even talking about actually having a physical place to go. It's just that I'm too much of a slacker to really jump in there, and this is probably maybe out of line, but just a personal thing about me is I just don't stick to things. I just don't get.
That's because you're creative. That's because you're creative. Look in that file I sent you, the folder I sent you. There's a book about making things happen for creative people. But one of the things, and this gets back to the co-founder thing, when you have, and this, I mentioned the filmmaker, that even though this guy was filthy rich, he would and he could hire anyone he wanted. He would have a co-founder anyway. Well, I can kind of prove the point of what I'm saying about being able to use Google Plus Hangout technology for this, because I posted about co-founders. I said, I'm thinking of writing a little ebook about this or something. And then a young woman really said she got inspired by what I wrote. She wrote me a few times. We started chatting, and now we're jointly writing this book. I don't know if she wants me to be mentioning this, but we're collaborating well together. What I've said to her, she's younger than me, a little less experienced, but has some really good skills. And she's a number of times kind of said to me, well, I mean, kind of implying that she thinks she's less valuable than me. She's not. But what I've said to her in return is, if it weren't for her, this would be like 3 sentences in an empty Google Doc. I just wouldn't do it. Having another person, kind of, keeping your ass to the fire does help a little bit. So anyway, good point, Jody. Anyone else? Karen, what do you think? Karen.
It's okay.
Your mic is muted.
Yes, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Don't worry about this.
Okay. Yeah. I've noticed that I have a certain skill set, and that's really great for some parts of my business, and for other parts, it is really, really crappy.
Exactly.
So.
No, that's true for all of us. That's just, we're good at certain things and we're not good at certain things. My monitor isn't very good. Is Gary's chair empty there, Gary Martin? I can't see. Is he there?
No, I'm here.
Oh, Gary, what do you think? I mean, you and I have started working together a little bit. What do you think?
I think it's great. I mean, it's true. There's times where I'm working and I need some kind of motivation. Which I hired an assistant, kind of, that he basically comes here to my office 8 o'clock in the morning, wakes me up if need be, and we get to working. And there's a lot of times where I'm up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, me too.
I still
That's
get
another
up.
problem.
Right, and it goes to say, like what you were saying earlier about your mind kind of getting lost on everything because of your creativity. You get super creative. You're working on something, and then you have 20 things going on. Just like I've got a list on that board behind me of projects I'm working on. That's not even everything. I have other side projects that I'm working on in conjunction with all the stuff that was my business. So I mean, yeah. I think I think the big thing for a co-founder is, I think from what I realize mostly is it's more of somebody else there to help motivate you to keep going on those times when you're not.
Now, in your case, not getting personal, but your wife is kind of your co-founder, isn't
right?
Yeah.
Right. My wife.
If you don't have that, and I don't, it's a problem.
And initially,
you're brainstorming once with her.
Initially, my wife wasn't my co-founder. Initially, it was going to be a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And we were getting things together in the preliminary stages before we even formed the business or any kind of thing. And he kind of disappointed me in a project that we had going on that he failed to come through on. And that was it for me. I'm done. I couldn't do it with him.
Yeah. So. Oh, by the way, that's kind of a different point. But I mentioned I'm starting to compile information on co-founders in a little ebook, and it's maybe 20% done right now. It's a lot of work, but they fail at an unbelievable rate. If you go, there's a site called On Startups, which is a question and answer site for startup companies, and I swear the whole thing is fights between co-founders. And I think it's really important to set a couple things in the early stages. One is the level of effort. I think is really important. I mean, you have to have the same idea of what you're doing, the same goals, but also you have to know how much level of effort are you going to put into this for how long. With the person I'm working with on the book, I was only planning on working 4 hours a week. She was planning on working much more than that, and I didn't really know that. I thought I had said it, but we didn't communicate. That's just critically important. You have to say how much you're going to work. So I don't know what broke up your co-founder agreement, but if you read the site, I mean, they're really hard. And that's kind of the inspiration of why we're trying to cover some of that.
I think what helped me a lot with the co-founder part is the fact that when you have somebody that's a co-founder, you still need to put in place who has the final decision. It's you still have a co-founder, but one of them's got to be the CEO and the other one's got to be the COO.
Yeah. Another thing they're saying we're finding, they say the only wrong answer is 50-50. Is it never, and I mean, as an American, you love 50-50 deals. And so let's do it, it just sounds so cool, but it never is really 50-50 because one person's already done a bunch of the work on it usually, or one person might be bringing money to the table. And so one thing they recommend is when you're looking at equity, if you really do want a 50-50 deal, then do it 49-49 and give some other person 1%. Some fair third party and say you're the tiebreaker if we have a dispute. So you're right. One person should be in charge. I mean that does make sense. Thoughts, ideas, anything else?
I've just one more thing. I can afford to hire an editor, and I actually have hired an editor before. But what I can't hire, just because I can't make my position clear enough, is somebody to basically just ride my ass. That may sound pathetic, but that's what I need.
That's a little bit of that's kind of a virtual assistant, isn't it?
I mean, if I need someone to. And I know that I'm a bit caustic and I can be a bit intimidating at times, but I need someone to care enough about the project to, call me, leave nasty voice messages. Where are you? Is your work done? Did you get 1,000 quality words today, or 2,000, or 3,000, or whatever? Because I don't know what my deal is, but I will drift and it frustrates me. It frustrates people that depend on me. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to worry about bringing in an income anymore. I'm retired, and I sold my electrical company and did all right with that. But thank goodness nobody has to depend on me anymore. And it seems like the older I get, and the more I engage myself in creative endeavors, the more I just tend to drop the ball.
Well, that's a really, really good thought. And when I was making that list, that presentation, I didn't really show. I was going to add virtual assistant to that. But what I was thinking when you were talking is, when I first started my career, I have a master's degree in government public policy. That was during the Reagan Revolution, so I immediately got a really good corporate job. A company called Oak Industries, which was in the cable TV industry, at that time really hot, and then just an opulent headquarters. But the title they gave me was project coordinator, which was perfect title for me because it's kind of vague, and you just, with the energy of a young person, you just run around and get stuff done. So maybe, a virtual project coordinator is what you need. And that's probably a pretty good idea, And people, give somebody a couple hours a week, $20 an hour or whatever, and say, I want you to start keeping track of some of my projects. There's a lot of virtual assistants out there. And that's not that far from what they do. And it would be worth an experiment. Try it for 6 weeks. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. But, I don't know. It's just the whole world. You are right in that the whole world is transitioning over to especially with the in the creative works. The whole world is transitioning over to more of a virtual interface. I mean, there's hardly even. I mean, your big publishing houses have offices and big buildings in Park Avenue, but 90% of your most successful online publishing houses that aren't the big 4 or 5 are just nothing more than this right here.
No kidding, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And they're making money. They're doing well. They're because really it's like with this kind of technology that anybody could put in their home for a couple of grand, why would you? What's the benefit of the real estate? What's the benefit of the why not use that overhead to buy more talent
absolutely.
bring more people into your stable.
Yeah.
And so this is definitely the way that it's going. You know, but
well, not only that, Jody, but even on a personal level, and I've said this before, and this is not business, but the line between online friends and real world friends is getting very blurry. You know, yeah. I've seen people drive across town to give people money that they've never met before. They've only met online. I mean, it's just getting not as clear anymore. You know, there's people sometimes I don't remember if I met them in real life. You know? Yeah, it's like, so I mean, that's just happening. And that's interesting about what you said about companies. Anyone else want to jump in with anything? Or go ahead, Jody.
And this may sound a little paranoid, but I just really see if, let's just say the four of us, just hypothetically, worked together and created something amazing. You know, something that just took off and exploded. Can you imagine really the way the tax man and the government and everybody would just be in line just to basically go after us with
no more than they are anyway, right?
You know, I mean, I don't know what your tax situation is, but my tax bill's gone up significantly this year, and I'm being required to show paperwork and receipts and things that I've never had to really worry about in.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
In my life, you know, and
well, certainly the self-employment tax is a big
it's like
problem.
Really the government doesn't appreciate bartering. They don't appreciate exchanging.
Oh, someone else made that point. Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's
you may value your services at this and value somebody else's services as twice as much, but I guarantee you the government's going to want a dollar amount, and they're going to.
I think because I posted that too under the title of skill sharing. I'm covering this issue a lot because it's something I really am interested in. And somebody posted the part of the IRS code that deals with that. But then somebody else said they're mostly concerned with when it becomes like 100% of your income, when you're really jerking around with it. But it's absolutely something to keep an eye on.
Well, you remember how I posted on there that I did that with a lawyer?
Oh, right, yeah.
Right. Well, that's what we ended up having to do for tax purposes, was when we did the services for the lawyer, I had to put a dollar amount on my services, provide an invoice. He had to put a dollar amount on his services or provide me an invoice. So basically, instead of providing money, trading money, we traded services for the exact amount, the exact dollar amount.
Well, you know, maybe that's what we have to do then. You know, maybe
that's how we had to do it.
That's how told me to do it. Yeah, maybe to set up a system for. You know, that'd probably be a good idea because I think some of these work exchange agreements, you have to standardize them anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, and I like the idea of let's trade, and you know, not forever necessarily. Let's try it for 6 weeks or something. I'll work for you 2 hours a week for 6 weeks. You work for me for 2 hours a week for 6 weeks. I think we get more done that way. Oh, and I mentioned also virtual startup week, and I should have put that in my presentation, or what there was in the presentation. But you know, on startup weekend, you all meet in a facility, a hotel. Conference room or something, and everybody works on a project, or a bunch of projects for a whole weekend, and they get a lot done on these things. We wouldn't necessarily stay on camera all weekend, but supposing we had a virtual startup weekend for our own projects. So Gary, you know, 5 of us would get together and let's work on one of your racing applications or something, and you know, get some more marketing, get some talent you don't have. I mean, you're in a little different situation because you do have some talent, but. You know, you get the point that we'd all be kind of working on each other's stuff. So, there's just a lot of stuff like that we can do. Karen, do you have anything else you want to say? I don't want to keep people too long. I just kind of.
I just was, you know, intrigued that even though all of this stuff is happening online and the technology is available, that we still seek connection, and that's why I really like the Hangouts, because we're still, even though we're very isolated, we're still constantly seeking connection.
Right. Well, I'm going to get in the habit of just having more office hours. You know, while I'm working on other things, and you know, someone says you can even just have a Hangout thing in a tab that's closed while you're working on something else. They'll say, you know, from 11 till noon every day, or every other day. I'm going to be online for office hours, and they can drop by and say hi. And then from that goes on. You start knowing people more. And what I said to Gary last time is eventually we're going to get sick of introducing each other. We're going to know more about what we're all up to. And we'll start, either getting ideas of other people we can work with or other things we can do together. Anyway, that's going back to the networking community thing. But, that's where we're going with this. So this is kind of the opening salvo. I wanted to get it recorded because I wanted to get some of those ideas down. And I don't want to hold you guys too long because it's like what I heard about, if you go to the gym, you're not supposed to, go for 3 hours once because you don't go the next time. So I like to keep these not too long so that people aren't reluctant to come the next time. So I'm going to shut this off in a few minutes. I want to give anybody else the floor. Anybody else want to say anything? Go for it. Any parting thoughts here?
No.
No? Silence from Gary. Jody, let's do that hike for real sometime.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'd like to. Didn't you have a bigger mustache before you shaved that off?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I had it up here. I had a nice one, and then my wife said it was tickly when she would kiss me, so I shaved it off and just had the beard. I tried that for about 5 months, but I just couldn't stand it. So now I'm going back to the mustache, and I just bought a trimmer. Hopefully that'll take care of the.
Oh well, cool. It becomes.
Hopefully that'll take care of the prickly, but I just look like a. I'm just going to look strange for a couple weeks until we get some prick back in there.
Trimmer and conditioner.
My husband has a full beard on the bottom with no mustache.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Hey guys, anything else? I really appreciate it. Like I said, I victimized you a little bit because I kind of used you as an audience for the points I wanted to record here on Hangouts on Air and YouTube. So I do appreciate that. Anything else?
Nope, I'm golden.
Thanks a bunch, guys. I really appreciate it. You have a great evening. I'll see you again. We'll do this again. Thank you.